Did you know the man who accidentally killed the most people in history was not a dictator or a warlord, but an inventor? His name, Thomas Miggle Jr., a name not widely known, yet his inventions have echoed through the ages with a grim toll. A brilliant mind, Miggle gifted the world with leaded gasoline and Freon, but these gifts came with a deadly curse. They seeped into our environment, into our bodies, altering the course of human health. Meet Thomas Miggle Jr., the inventor with a deadly legacy. Born in 1889, Thomas Miggle Jr. was a mechanical engineer with a knack for problem-solving. Hailing from a family of inventors, Miggle's destiny was seemingly written in the stars. Growing up in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, his mind was a whirlwind of ideas and inventions, a trait that undoubtedly stemmed from his lineage. As a young boy, he was fascinated by machines and how they worked. This love for the mechanical world led him to Cornell University, where he pursued a degree in mechanical engineering. His education laid the groundwork for his inventive mind, shaping him into a problem solver of the highest degree. After graduation, Miggle began his career with a stint at National Cash Register, where he developed improvements to cash registers. However, it was at General Motors, where he joined in 1916, that his inventive mind truly took flight. At General Motors, Miggle was tasked with a problem that had been plaguing the automobile industry: engine knock. Engine knock, a rattling noise produced when fuel prematurely ignites in an engine cylinder, was a significant issue for the rapidly growing automobile industry. In response, Miggle, with his ever-problem-solving mind, invented leaded gasoline. The addition of tetrethyl lead to gasoline successfully reduced engine knock, making cars run smoother and more efficiently. This invention was hailed as a triumph, a solution to a problem that had been vexing car manufacturers and drivers alike. But as we know, every solution has its consequences, and Miggle's was no different. The lead in the gasoline, while solving one problem, introduced another, far more dangerous one. Unbeknownst to Miggle and the world at that time, lead is a potent neurotoxin, harmful to both humans and the environment. Little did he know, his invention would lead to devastating consequences. Miggle's solution to engine knocking was simple: add lead. Yes, indeed, Thomas Miggle Jr. had a straightforward answer to a complicated problem. It was the early 20th century and automobiles were just coming into their own. However, engine knocking, a persistent problem that hindered performance, was a significant barrier to their widespread adoption. Enter leaded gasoline, Miggle's brainchild. This ingenious solution was initially hailed as a game-changer. Leaded gasoline significantly reduced engine knocking, making automobiles more reliable and efficient. It was a win for car manufacturers, a win for consumers, and a win for Miggle, who quickly rose to prominence as a brilliant inventor. But as we now know, this celebration was short-lived. Leaded gasoline, as it turned out, had a dark side. The lead it contained was not just an antidote to engine knocking, it was a poison. Slow, silent, and deadly poison. When cars burned leaded gasoline, they released lead particles into the air. These particles, invisible to the naked eye, were then inhaled by unsuspecting victims. Men, women, children, all unknowingly breathing in a potent neurotoxin. Over time, this exposure to lead had devastating effects on public health. It led to an array of neurological disorders, including learning disabilities, seizures, and in severe cases, even death. The damage was not just confined to human health, though. Leaded gasoline also wreaked havoc on the environment. It contaminated soil and water, causing untold damage to wildlife and ecosystems. As the grim reality of leaded gasoline became apparent, the initial enthusiasm turned into horror. The solution that had once seemed so brilliant was now a ticking time bomb, a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. Yet, for many years, the use of leaded gasoline continued unabated, driven by profit and a reluctance to acknowledge the truth. It was a solution that solved one problem, but created many more. Thomas Miggle Jr.'s invention of leaded gasoline was indeed a double-edged sword, a testament to human ingenuity, but also a stark reminder of the potential for unintended consequences. If leaded gasoline was Miggle's first deadly invention, his second was even more chilling. Thomas Miggle Jr., the man with the Midas touch for deadly innovations, had another trick up his sleeve. His next invention was a substance that would change the world, and not for the better. Enter Freon, the first chlorofluorocarbon gas, or CFC for short. Midgley was on a quest to find a non-toxic, non-flammable alternative for the dangerous gases used in refrigeration. And he found it. Freon was everything he was looking for. It was safe, efficient, and easy to produce. It was hailed as a miracle substance, used in everything from refrigerators to air conditioners to aerosols. Little did we know this miracle was a ticking time bomb. As we used and discarded these products, the Freon within them escaped into the atmosphere. Here's where the real problem starts. Freon is heavier than air, so it sinks to the ground. But over time, it slowly drifts upwards all the way to the stratosphere. There, under the intense ultraviolet radiation, the chlorine atom in the CFC molecule breaks free. This free chlorine atom is a menace. It starts a chain reaction that destroys the ozone layer, our planet's only shield against the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays. The use of CFCs has led to the depletion of around 70% of the ozone layer. You heard that right, 70%. This has resulted in increased cases of skin cancer and cataracts, not to mention the impact on our environment and wildlife. The damage is so severe that it will take at least 50 years for the ozone layer to recover, even if we were to stop all CFC emissions today. So, just as with leaded gasoline, the invention that was supposed to make our lives safer had catastrophic unintended consequences. Once again, Midgley's genius had given birth to a monster. And once again, we were left to deal with the aftermath. Once again, Midgley's invention had catastrophic unintended consequences. The damage done by Midgley's inventions was silent and unseen. Unseen, but far from unfelt. The health effects of lead poisoning are insidious, creeping over the years and even decades. It begins with subtle symptoms: a dull headache, fatigue, a faint tremble in the hands. It's easy to dismiss, to attribute to stress or lack of sleep. But as the lead accumulates in the body, the symptoms grow more severe. Abdominal pain, memory loss, mood disorders, reduced fertility. In children, the effects are even more devastating. Developmental delay, learning difficulties, loss of appetite, weight loss, sluggishness, and hearing loss. And then there's Freon. Midgley may have seen it as a harmless, odorless gas, the perfect coolant. But when released into the atmosphere, it rises to the stratosphere and depletes the ozone layer. This thin layer of gas is all that stands between us and the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation. With every molecule of ozone lost, more UV light reaches the Earth's surface. This can lead to skin cancer, cataracts, immune system suppression, and environmental damage. The global impact of these issues is staggering. They are silent killers, claiming lives without a sound. It's estimated that millions have suffered from the effects of lead poisoning and ozone depletion. Some studies suggest that a significant percentage of all cancer deaths worldwide are directly attributable to these factors. Yet, it all traces back to one man. Thomas Miggle Jr., a genius, an inventor, a man who changed the world, but at what cost? His inventions, leaded gasoline and Freon, have left a toxic legacy that we are still grappling with today. The toll is not just in human lives, but in the Earth itself. Our air, our water, our very ecosystems bear the scars of Midgley's unseen killer. Midgley's inventions have had a deadly impact on a scale few can comprehend. Midgley died in 1944. He had a long history of health issues, contracted polio in 1940, and was left severely disabled. As a result of his illness, he became almost completely paralyzed from the waist down. In an attempt to make himself more independent, Midgley designed a system of ropes and pulleys to help him move in and out of bed. Unfortunately, he became entangled in the contraption and, in a cruel twist of fate, died of strangulation at the age of 55. A man of invention, Thomas Miggle Jr. unknowingly authored a tale of environmental catastrophe. His creations, leaded gasoline and Freon, have left an indelible mark on the planet, even decades after his death. The gasoline, laced with lead, was a quiet killer. It seeped into the air we breathe, the soil we cultivate, and the waters we drink, causing untold damage to human health and the environment. This leaded gasoline, once hailed as a marvel of the industrial age, was phased out in the United States by the end of the 20th century. The rest of the world soon followed suit, but the damage was done. The repercussions, though invisible, are profound, with millions suffering from lead poisoning worldwide. Then there's Freon. This once revolutionary coolant, essential in refrigeration and air conditioning, was later discovered to be a major contributor to the depletion of the Earth's ozone layer. The Montreal Protocol of 1987 was a global response to this crisis, aiming to phase out the use of substances like Freon that are harmful to the ozone layer. A concerted global effort, it has seen considerable success, but the healing process is slow. Thomas Midgley Jr., an inventor whose legacy is a reminder of the unintended consequences of innovation. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.